Good evening. I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of Alaska Public Media and the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, welcome to Hangar Flying. This evening, we welcome back Clint Wease, who's the Alaska Region Flight Standards Division Manager. Clint was on last time, talked a little bit about a pretty exciting F-16 ride he had, and also about his current job and responsibilities as the Flight Standards Division Manager. We had just begun to talk about CFIT, or Control Flight into Terrain, and I wanted to bring Clint back to talk specifically about that. So, Clint, welcome back.
Thank you, Harry.
What is CFIT?
Controlled flight into terrain is where an aircraft under control hits an object, contacts the ground.
So, does it happen a lot in Alaska?
Yeah, as you know, we've had it recently here on the commercial side of the house with the Part 135 operators. We've seen a trend, an increasing trend in CFITs here toward the end of the calendar year 15 and the beginning of calendar year 16. We had about roughly 5 events resulted in, all were fatal and serious injury accidents. But that resulted in about, I think it was 26 folks with serious or fatal injuries. Okay.
What was the time period?
It was actually the trend began around the middle of calendar year 15, and then throughout the first quarter of calendar year 16.
Wow. So, you and I were talking earlier, and I guess I had an image in my mind of CFIT where somebody is flying in a cloud and he runs into a rock and everybody's killed. But you expanded that to some interesting ends of the spectrum. Talk a little bit about what it also could be as far as other than, you know, the typical fatal fly into a rock in a cloud.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. We were looking at some data here for calendar year 16 in preparation for the fall seminar coming up, and and we were looking at loss of control accidents. But of those, and there was 57 loss of control accidents. Of those 57, 12 really could have been classified as a CFIT, where a pilot was approaching an airport, hit an object on approach, or on departing an airport hit an object that was out there that that was a known object, a tree, a stump, a bush, whatever, what have you. You don't think about things like that, but they are by definition a CFIT.
Is it fair to say, though, the CFIT that we really worry about is the VMC into IMC accident, where the visibility keeps coming down and the clouds keep coming down, and people don't make the right decisions to avoid that fatal accident?
Absolutely. I mean, those are the most horrific accidents we have, and generally, when you look back at the ones we've seen, you have a highly experienced pilot with an IFR capable aircraft with many of them have collision or train avoidance systems, or TAWs, in the aircraft. Along with some of them are capstone equipped, so it has the train alert feature in there. And for some reason, the pilot has disregarded that information and continued on into an IMC situation there, where they wind up contacting the ground.
Let me ask you this, Clint. There's a lot of technology out there, like you mentioned, TAWs and ADSB and capstone. Do you think, or do you find that is there an education problem there, or do folks know how to use this equipment? Are they proficient in it, or they just choose not to use it? Why doesn't it help more than it does?
Well, that's a good point, Harry. I mean, it's a complex problem because operators have the obligation to kind of continue to look at their systems, identify hazards, and way to mitigate the risks, especially on the commercial side of the house. And so yes, there's they need to evaluate their training programs. They need to be looking at things like flat light, thorough training for avionics equipment. Make sure that the pilot's just not learning about it when he's out there flying the aircraft. I mean, they need to have a thorough understanding to begin with. You also need to look at, make sure you got adequate procedures and controls in place to ensure that the pilot does what you need them to do when they're out there flying the line. In other words, you don't want the pilot just to launch and be a single pilot out there by himself. You need to be able to support that pilot with policy, procedures, equipage, well trained, to be able to safely fly the trip.
You know what I'd like to do, Clint? We've used up another session. I'd like to get you on one more time, and I want to talk about what we can do, what you are hoping we can do to reverse this trend. And I'd like to talk about things like best practices and some of the things that you've seen out there that might help reverse this trend. So if I can get you on one more time, we'll take a look at that.
Absolutely, Harry.
Thanks for being on the program tonight.
You're welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. I would ask you to tune in one more time, and I'm going to pick Clint's brain a little bit on best practices and some of the things he's seen that may help to reverse this trend as far as CFIT accidents concerned. So until next time, fly safe.